During week 8 of the OPL, I don't think a lot went right for us.
The loss versus Order was pretty, it was bad. Like, I felt bad about it because that game was in our hands despite the bad early game.
I think the game was close up until the Baron call, as you said. I think we got very flustered and we panicked and we thought, if we can't get the Baron here, we probably won't get the Baron in this game. And we started rushing it.
There's a lot of things that went wrong. We didn't execute on our plan. We got punished a lot early on. However, I think the silver lining is we still have more time and we can work on these issues.
Because if you can start controlling this side, like this, then that's gonna be really easy to roam and do stuff like this. Like whichever way you want to do it. So the first step,
if you can control the pink next to red, then the pixel pink's irrelevant. That's one of them there. That's not danger. Why you gotta do like that?
Good luck, boys. Don't say good luck back. Those guys.
Alright. That's on camera again. I want that. I want that in the next episode.
There's much worse on camera. Shut up.
Hi, how are you?
Howdy.
D5 doesn't definitely not D5. It's 1 to 4.
Oh, okay. They got rid of D5?
Yeah,
What?
They got rid of D5.
I genuinely can't believe it.
Bro, I haven't been in Diamond in 10 years.
Put it on the rank reset.
People still make D5 jokes.
You went through the D4.
No, I skip Diamond. I go Platinum 1 to Challenger.
Oh, that makes sense. That's fair enough. That's fair enough.
I'm bleeding for a second.
One more.
Nice sneak Winston in this time.
Wait a minute.
Alright, good luck out there, boys. Have fun. If Jesse fees, he's getting dropped. Legacy on 3.
Mark's washing his hands. That's very good for us. That's a very good sign.
That's very good.
That means he wants to win.
Why are you washing your hands?
I already did.
Fair enough.
Kind of.
Alright, so we got the camera dude and the dude camera dude and the camera dude. Double camera dude.
Dude, cameraception.
What a bunch of dudes.
He did message me. Dude.
Oh, yeah.
The problem is when you break a cockroach's neck, they don't actually die. So you're gonna have to do a little bit more than that, buddy. Yeah, no, they can run around with no head.
Can we show Dobes real quick?
Is anyone showing me today? They better be.
If we first exile, we can't play it?
No.
Or not?
Definitely.
Maybe.
Howdy Winston. I'm just here stretching and then I got cameras on me and like, oh. Alright, fair enough.
They're in. Rom's dead. No Zoe. No flash, Zoe too. We can go Baron. I think. Zoe's still alive. She has no flash, no Zonius. Just push mid. We're gonna have to rush this now. We're stronger. If you pick Zoe, then you can Baron. I can TP to the Baron. I feel like we should be able to get it. I can kill her. Let's get out. That's fine. I might be dead here too. Can we help?
It doesn't even matter. Pathwise gets off like a bubble. Player's gonna follow his into the Guardian.
Maybe we can still defend.
But that won't really keep him alive for a whole lot longer, and doesn't really matter the target.
Alright, I'm going to go on Zoe. Yeah, I'm going to go on now.
They have no Kindred all.
Lucky boys.
I'm not sure why the team was nervous when we had numbers advantages, especially in the order game. My only thought would be it's just stage nerves that haven't really gone away yet. I think this is something that, again, with time, things can be solved. It's definitely not something that exists in practice.
I try and keep it as close as I possibly can. I try and make sure that I don't differentiate at all, but I do think I still do. I think I have a bit of stage fright myself. I think I definitely play a lot more passive than I would like to be. I think we just get scared on stage. I think we've developed stage fright. I don't think we had it earlier on, up until about, I'd say week 4, week 5-ish. And then since then, I feel like we've had a stage fright. I'm not entirely sure why, but I think that's the symptom.
I'd say, yeah, our scrims aren't really translating to on stage in terms of like how we think about the game and how we communicate. It's not the same right now, and we just got to work on it and try to translate that.
I'm not looking to make any changes for how many games we play. As for what we're specifically practicing, well, that's always based around sort of finishing everyone off as players, like making them a bit more well-rounded before we work in just purely winning games for Split 2. As Split 1 ends, we don't have a lot to be specifically playing for in terms of promotion or gauntlet or anything like that. So what our main focus is just being on improvement, as it has been the entire split, and trying to get everyone to kind of get rid of that stage nerves if they still have any.
So what snack or food product would you die to protect?
Would I die to protect?
Would you die to protect?
Sam, what have we been munching?
What?
What's something we've been munching that's been real good? Oh yeah, Zupa Dupas for sure. Yeah, I would murder someone to keep them in production. I don't know. Probably just eggs. I couldn't live life without eggs. Well, it's just like, so the thing about eggs is like, not only are they delicious, nutritious, they can also be consumed as a snack and a meal, and they're convenient and they're cheap. It's like the ultimate protein food.
I don't even know if I have a favorite food.
My favorite snack growing up was probably pears. So I mean, if someone stopped me getting pears, like, I'd be pretty devastated.
I used to really get around the Super Dupas, but not so much anymore. But I still, if they were getting rid of them, I feel like it'd be a piece of my childhood that would be leaving. So probably the Super Dupas.
Water. I would sacrifice myself to save water. That's my human sacrifice. There was this one new flavour of Red Rock Deli chips that came out recently. It was like pork belly and something. I've had chips like my entire life. Like, I've treated it as a delicacy, and when these ones came out, I was like, this is the cake. So if they discontinued them, I would be extremely disappointed.
Welcome back to Snowball's OPL Top 5. Let's take a look at the last week. Coming in at number 5, Gravitas go hunting and run down the Dire Wolves.
Flash and the knock-up, knocking away Udisov, and he just gets boomed in the Baron pit. No chance for a smite steal in the ensuing play if they even live through it here. And the jaws are closing on the Wolf Pack. Goodbye, Corporal. Goodbye, Get Back. And you got to think it's getting closer and closer to goodbye game.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, that was just such a good flame coming across. I don't think they had any idea the Pablo was teleporting in there. That's going to be the Baron buff secured at only 22 minutes in, 10,000 gold lead.
Charging into number 4, Legacy put on their fancy shoes, dodging orders engaged while grabbing themselves 3 kills.
slip out of the grasp as Guts goes in looking for Jake, and it's just chaos all over the place, and a chaos storm to boot. Let's see if they have the damage, looking for even more, but Jake takes down Chaz. Paprise finds a kill on the opposite side, and Praedith is coming up with one as well. Legacy defying the odds, find the fight they needed.
And Order straight up miss every single ability, and Legacy just come up with a team fight. Guts is still alive, but they're looking to break the outer turret. Do they just go back to Baron?
They should.
Yes, they have a jungler. They have the smite. It wasn't used in the fight, and Praedith is playing Callista. The secure is here. Order may have just thrown the game.
Coming in at number 3, Order forced a fight against the Chiefs, picking up a clean team fight.
Very close to falling. TP is channeled, so the flank is on. Hook whiffs.
A little bit wide here. It looks like that is going to be the signal for the Chiefs to try and get out. Ayla a little bit low here. Claire cannot take the lantern. He's forced to flash. Exhaust still on. And here comes Swiper. The counter collapse is there. Ray's tagging his way forward, but the shutdown tally starts by taking out Claire. Jake going golden, but no health bar left to speak of. He's out of there. Meanwhile, it's more than enough for Order, though, as they've already taken down Swiper, looking for only you can see. Spooks just making a whole lot of noise on the player cam, and Order come up with the fight.
Bulldozing their way into number 2, Avant tried to interrupt the Baron, but Mammoth stormed over them for a clean 5-0.
Fight it away. They will get the knockup onto King, turning around. Teleports coming back on both ends. Chippy's trying to come in, charge through. There's the Pop Blossom. The gun grab's not going to find anybody, and King gets the first kill. Chippy's with a big old knockup, but he just doesn't have the damage. And Mammoth are cleaning house. Triple kill for King.
And everything AB have done this game, Mammoth have had the answer. They pick on Topoon, but on the other side, they take down the Baron. They completely ace them on the map, and this game just exploded.
Coming in at number 1, Claire lands a 4-man shockwave that turns the fight in the Chiefs' favor.
The pressure's on Claire, has yet to reveal himself. There's the knockup, looking for a punishment for the shockwave, but only he can't get much done. He's shut down here. There is no smite available for the Chiefs, but here goes Swiper. What a shockwave, and screw the Baron. They're gonna take the game.
They certainly are. Mimic will fall, Ryoma will follow, and the Chiefs might have done it.
Ryoma's the last man standing here, and he might have two-stepped his way out of danger, but the base is in the eyes of the Chiefs Esports Club. Looking like the second-place OPL team upending number 1 here, owning the tiebreaker. The Chiefs have done it!
And that's the OPL Top 5. If you're interested in more League of Legends content, come by snowballesports.com.
To just get into that river and just kill.
Binding does not connect on better rocks, but this still could be a Braum cut out of position. It's the caster curse. We give him the praise, and down he goes. Michael Lights to give us a 4-man ultimate from Microthrop. It does force the Kindred ult as well, and with the bind onto Panda. Panda can't quite get in, but here it comes. Here comes the boom. No, it's knocked away. Dawnbreaker, though, is able to kill the Jinx. Dorlingus is down. The calling completely whiffed, but it might not matter. Malfunction goes down to Alphature in the end, as Microtop's Plus is trying to run away from Dawnbreaker on the backside. Won't be able to get out of it, and it is a double kill for both Lucian and for Dawnbreaker as well. A complete ace coming out of the Somerset College.
Surely go to Baron.
And oh no, Panda got caught out. A good ultimate from Macadam's Flush, and down goes the Nico mid laner Somerset. They needed to slow play and not get caught. Well, guess what? They got caught as they were doing Elder Dragon. This is going to be a 5v4 fight. The Chiefs have a chance to make a massive steal right here, or at least get an advantage. Dragon is down to half. This is the fight that could very much determine the direction this late game goes. Dragon is down to a corner. Agathwap connects on both of the damage dealers, or at least Nara, and one of them. Here comes the Lexol. Not really enough damage. That my boy is running out the backside. Agathwap's on his own. The Kindred ult is forced out, though. His Hecarim comes on running, and he charges again. He's in the back line, but he's not going to be able to pick up any kills. It's Agathwap who falls to Malfunction first, as Alphajar's running for his life. It is a double kill for Malfunction now. Alphajar skirting on that edge, trying to hold it away, but not quite enough, as Dolingus is able to pick up that kill. That will be a fight going over to the Chiefs. The last one to fall is Dawnbreaker, and the Chisholm Chiefs should be getting an Elder Dragon as reward. Best advantage over the Dragon here. Dragon's low. Dragon's going to fall down. Oh, it's stolen! Dawnbreaker steals the Dragon impulsively to fight. Here comes the ult from the Panda. This is a lot of damage. It's a double kill, it appears, for the Hecarim. The fight is going down. Agathwap is on his own, and he will fall. There it is. Alphajar also getting kill on Malfunction. However, here comes Michael Lang. A double kill picked up by this Kindred, and he wants more. Forcing out the flash out of Benny Rocks as Alphajar's running for his life. The Jinx ulted! There it is. The Chiefs may have lost the Dragon, but they have won the fight.
They said, I don't care about you still in our Dragon. We've got a Jinx, we've got a Kindred, we've got all the damage.
And there is the ace. Michael Lang gets it done, and that should be the Chiefs ending this game.
We'll see you guys back here, same time, about 4:30 p.m. Tuesday.
4:30 p.m. next week, every Tuesday for week 3. Thank you all very much. Have a good day.
Good night.
Welcome to the Meta Recap, where we will be highlighting select games and getting you up to speed with what is happening across the 7 regions. First up, we had Victoria's St. Monica's College Epping B vs Yarra Valley 2. Nunu was picked up for the St. Monica's jungle and they did not waste any time utilising it, with multiple ganks in bot and mid before the 3-minute mark. Then, with the help of Darius, the top jungle duo of St. Monica's found Yarra Valley's Kane in his jungle, picking up first blood. What started out as a relatively back and forth game turned quickly into a stomp from St. Monica's after the 20-minute mark. Starting with Darius being chased into a 2v1, he comes out with a double kill, while the rest of St. Monica's pick up a Mountain Drake. From there, they closed out the game relatively quickly, utilising the powerful Darius split push to come away with the win. Also in the Victorian League, RHS Varrock took the win over McKinnon Secondary College, coming back from an early deficit to take the win. Now over to Western Australia, where the sister teams Aurora and Arctic from Willetton State High School battled it out. Some interesting picks coming out for Arctic, with the duo of Ari and Lux for the bot lane, whilst a more standard team comp is picked for Aurora. The game started off relatively slow, with first blood only coming around the 6-minute mark, picked up by Aurora's Cassiopeia in the mid lane with the help of Sejuani. The game then snowballed as the Israel Braum combo started to run over the unconventional bot duo from Arctic, while Aurora continued to win teamfights across the map, closing out the game in just 25 minutes. As we take a look at the current standings in WA, Southern River College Blue came out on top against Perth Modern School Senior C in a close match, but an 11-kill spree from the SRCZ mid lane guaranteed them the game. And that's all for week 1. Thanks for watching. You can find the full standings for all Meta High School esports regions at metahsc.gg under the leagues page.
That was cool.
For our game days, I like to mimic my practice day to almost a T. I'll get up at the same time, I'll eat the same thing, and find it really easy to focus when it's time to play.
I personally like to wear my lucky socks every day, and we all sort of believe in them, and then when we lose, we'll sort of change it up a little bit and change the socks. It just makes me happy, so that is the easiest way to put it.
If I'm having a rough day, I try to read a book. It takes my mind off everything else, and I sort of just get engrossed in what I'm reading.
Putting time into my hobbies, my creative side, drawing, or putting time into my journal is what I want to do.
When I go to the gym, I just lift heavy things and scream really loudly. It's like a sort of cathartic energy coming out, and yeah, I do feel relieved after.
Personally, I like to go exercise or go for a walk. It really helps me get into a healthy mind.
So for me, I try to get 8 hours minimum sleep. If I get anything less, I'm waking up like a zombie.
For me, probably just listening to music, just watching videos about the game, and then sometimes watch some bubble tea. Got some bubble tea. Yeah. I've had so much bubble tea since we've been in Sydney.
As a team, we do a lot of small team bonding things, and we make sure it feels more like a family.
As a team, I think it's very important to stay connected, because it's not all just about the 40 minutes you spend with each other in the game. It's more about building a brotherhood or a friendship as opposed to just being workmates.
Bonding with your teammates I think it's one of the most important things. And when I saw the players on the team, I'm like, yep, I want these players because I know they're really good people, and yeah, I want to be here.
So we have 7 people living in the house with us, and each day one person will cook, and we usually go out and have a chat while they're cooking, and then eat dinner together.
We usually share against each other if we cook things, and if anyone thinks it or smells good, it's oh, give me some.
They call it Big Chaz's Big Spaghetti Night.
You call it Big Chaz's Big Spaghetti
Night. I didn't come up with that name.
No comment.
I think knowing each other is pretty important for giving feedback. So I think having that prior strong relationship means you can say more of what you really think to people and then not get too upset about it.
They'll be super frustrated to begin with, but then it's about going back and reevaluating and trying to learn something from it and going, how can I make this not happen again?
Life is just so much better when you're with your friends, and I think it really shows in team environments.
Yeah, it's real nice, after a rough day of scrims, to know that everyone's still got your back, you may have let them down on the day, but they want the best for you and they're always there for you, so that's always really comforting.
Hello, welcome to day 1 of week 9 of split 1 of the 2019 OPL. I'm Nick by Richardson, and I was always taught in television school, which is of course where I studied, that you shouldn't yell at the beginning of an intro because it's false energy. But to my teacher, I say, screw you! You've been doing it the entire split, yeah. Exactly. And we're on the internet, so it doesn't matter. It's not television at all.
Ah, yeah, okay.
Gentlemen, How are you? Rusty? Egypt? How are you, Bryce?
I'm pretty good, you know. I got this giant like crowd ball, you know, for all the crowds that are in here, and I'm just hanging out.
One just walked in. Quick, throw it at him.
All of Egypt's fans.
There we go.
Nice. Oh, he's walking
Can
away.
I, can I have it back?
It's a huge
there we
mistake.
go.
All right. Of course, Bryce has a giant ball because it is Recall and Restore weekend here at the OPL. Riot Games in conjunction with Headspace and Lavar working on raising awareness about mental health and well-being.
Yep.
And so we'll be talking about that throughout the weekend. And apparently, beach balls are a big part of that.
Yeah, agree. That's a good time.
And smaller balls. Yeah.
Known as stress balls.
Do we only have... Oh, no, we have 2 of those.
Yeah, there's many.
I could get... Yeah. This is what I need.
Yeah.
I need this today.
Oh, yeah.
Have you guys had a good week?
I've had a pretty good week. I've had a pretty good day. I came in the studio and I saw this ball. Immediately, my eyes lit up. And then I like juggling, like soccer juggling. I'm not very good, but I was walking around and then I realized that I'm in a studio and there's cameras everywhere. And then I got particularly nervous and I stopped doing that.
Rusty did a particularly good save of a television earlier.
Yeah.
The ball heading straight for the expensive.
Oh, yeah.
Right for the viewers.
That was actually like dad reflexes almost.
The thing we forget is you are a child. So you walking in and seeing a ball is a very exciting... You're the youngest one here, right?
Yeah,
like by a
you would
substantial
be.
amount.
No, because
6 or 7
I remember thinking that like Zach was much older than me, and then I found out he's not.
I'm not.
He's just emotionally much
Are
more
you
mature.
older though?
I'm older than you, yeah,
Okay.
for sure. How old are you?
20, 25? 20, I'm turning 25 this year.
Okay, then yes, I am older.
Okay.
All right, there we go. I'm glad we cleared that one.
Undisclosed age.
All evening. And I think I'm allowed to call it that. It's 4 p.m. I'm going to say it's evening. We are going to be doing Nick Box throughout the entire night. You guys have asked for it, and we'll deliver. You're happy.
Your box is really taking over the show.
It's basically, I mean, I could leave and just leave my box and we'll be fine.
Yeah.
Like, as long as the box can talk, then we don't really need anything else. So please send in your questions to asknickboy@gmail.com, and we'll answer the good ones. The bad ones, I just ignore. Sometimes I delete them. I delete a lot, don't you worry about that.
Fizz to win again.
Yeah.
Look, Fizz, I'll tell you what, Fizz to win may make an appearance today. But just to shut him up.
You gotta give him something. Gotta give them something so that they...
Exactly, yeah. A little morsel.
A little
A little nibble.
Yeah, a little nibble.
A little nibble of the box and then get out of here. Bryce throws a ball at them. Of course, we do have League of Legends games that we are going to be playing today. Zach, can you run us through the schedule?
I absolutely can. First game of the day will be Order against the Bombers. Mammoth and Gravitas will be the second game of the day. AV takes on Direwolves third, and the Chiefs against Legacy will round us out. And Bryce, there's a lot of must-win games now.
Yes, in the first couple, right? Like, we have that top 2 where, like, Bombers just got upset by Chiefs last week. By the way, predicted that one. My tips are looking pretty bloody good.
Yeah.
But then you get into the muddy section, right? You've got AV, you've got Mammoth, Gravitas, and Order really all fighting over points, fighting over head-to-head to cement themselves in the gauntlet because, like, the gauntlet isn't locked in any respect. Like, Chiefs upsetting the Bombers means that I think Bombers don't necessarily, like, lock themselves in first place. There's room there, and then, as I was calling it, like, the muddy section of the ladder, like, that can go all over the place.
Yeah, mud does get everywhere.
Yeah.
I think that's what we're trying to say. Now, also, speaking of spicy tips, I think you're leading.
Yeah, by 3.
Disturbingly.
Yeah.
Not happy with that
That's
at all.
a big lead.
Can we get up the spicy tips board? Because I'm interested to see... Well, there you go. It's the most predictable tip day ever. I mean, game 2
has got variance there.
There's a bit of spice. Pyra basically put it in spice.
It's just Pyra.
It's just Pyra.
That's the only unexpected one.
Yeah.
I think. But,
Rusty and I just supping at the safe teat.
This is...
Call me spicy tactics.
This is your fault, though. Because you literally said last week on broadcast that you were going to make your tips interesting, and you just gone back to being hella basic.
I did it last week.
Yeah.
I don't want to be punished every week for deliberately picking teams that I know aren't going to win.
We don't know if there's a punishment for coming last yet. We
very-
don't know, and you don't want to just in case.
Well, this
I
is
actually-
Lime-esque.
Big advocate for the punishment right now, sitting on top. Yeah, let's bring it in.
You're a big fan. All right,
Yeah.
we'll figure out what it is before the end of the evening. Now, speaking of punishment, Order.
Oh.
Game number 1.
Oh, okay.
Have apparently lost some bands.
That sucks. That sucks a lot. They were blue side?
Yeah.
Yes.
They were blue side. Okay, so I think, in my opinion, that sucks less than being red side.
Yep.
I think you certainly have a little bit more flexibility, and there has been, I think also, like, for reference, housekeeping, the Silas ban is also still in place for this week of the OPL. So, like, red side has less must bans in my eyes, but yeah, certainly not a good situation.
I still feel like, you know, when you look at draft in general, you want to be red side if there's 3 power picks that are on the map, right? Because then you could have them, like, you get 2 for 1. And you also get last pick on red side. So my concern for this, if Order lose 3 bans, is do they just ban none of the OPs, leave everything up and take the gamble? Because now you can't ban them. Like, the Bombers just say, let's have them all.
Yeah.
You know, and like that gets super risky. And losing bans is just awkward for prep in general. Like your research, your planning, all changes.
I think that punishment should be I have to pick the champions. So you don't lose bans. I just pick champions, or I pick bans. I don't care either way.
Okay.
Does someone have to be for that?
I just need to put these fingers in the game somehow.
Nick boy, in your like glorious and analytical like OPL brain,
please.
Like, given the players on Order, give me the optimum like team comp because they lost their bans and now you're in charge.
Well,
you're the coach.
I pick 3. I'll pick 3 champions because there's 3. It's 3 spots.
No, I mean you're not replacing the bans. I want you to give me the optimum Order comp. Top to bot.
Okay.
Top to support.
Number 1.
Say Garen and
my main boy Timo.
Oh,
yeah. Okay.
Yeah. He's sitting there wearing my sunglasses so I don't forget to take him home. He's not on camera.
Yeah. We're gonna. You're not gonna make it. Oh, there he is. He's got big sunnies for his small eyes.
Yeah. And then second Silas.
Okay. Jungle.
Sorry.
Jungle.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah.
Who just came out?
Like Kale rework?
Yeah,
Kale Morgana.
Kale Morgana.
Yeah,
I'll put those in there as well.
Kale and Morgana mid.
Is that the global silence ban is still in effect?
Yeah.
So you just don't get to play a champion in that regard as well.
Okay, so
so
no
it's just
jungler.
one spot gone.
Okay.
And then Thresh.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice choice.
I just picked basically the first 4 names that came to my head and a joke because I know one of those characters is banned. So this is an exciting way to start the show. Let's throw it over to the desk because it is Orders versus Bombers. As you said, it is a big day and a big day for Order with Gauntlet coming up. So let's throw it to the desk with Pyra and Spawn.
Thank you very much, Nick Boy. Right you are. It is a very big day, especially for the likes of Order, who are just on the edge of that playoff contention spawn.
Yeah, we weren't going to ban anything anyway, so it doesn't really matter, to be honest.
Oh, so this is a meta game, huh? Is it deliberate?
But yeah, really important day for Order, but also important day for Bombers. I don't feel like we hit on it much at the start of the show, but they've lost their head-to-head with the Chiefs, which means that if Chiefs tie them up in any spot, and they're only 1 game behind them, that they're able to take it. So you would have to look at the rest of the Chiefs games and say, you know, they're not going to lose against anyone for the rest of the season. You would like to think the same thing about the Bombers, but they did look pretty mortal. And I was more interested to their response, because I like to watch how good teams lose. And I was very interested that Rogue came out and immediately played I Was Sick card. Because I think that at times gets overused a little bit. And I think that other players on the Bombers would have been not feeling 100% while they were destroying the rest of the season. And that to me, doesn't hint at the most confident team at times. I think that when you're really, really confident, you shrug off losses. I don't think you necessarily make excuses. In saying that, if Order were making excuses for losses, there would be like a book of excuses. Order has lost a lot lately. Like, they would be writing like part 1, 2, and 3 of the excuse booklet for the second half of this season, because it really has been rough for them, and they need to get back on that winning train, because so far they've only beaten Direwolves and Legacy in the last 2 weeks of competition.
So let me see if I can unpack that. From the Bombers side, they're maybe a little less confident than a team at their level should be, but
absolutely,
they're not as far down as maybe you thinking in the mental department.
I don't know whether Order's mentality is bad. I just know that Order is playing not great League of Legends at the moment. And so I don't think that's a mentality thing. I just think that is they hit a really big speed hump and they haven't really been able to combat that. And I think that, you know, jokes aside about the 3 bans, 3 bans is going to hurt a team that is trying to fight up on the ladder. You want to be able to hit Mimic or Balkan's champion pool. Now without bans, you're not going to be able to do that.
Right, although a lot of teams have tried to hit both those players' champion pools and not really to any avail outside of Chiefs.
See, I kind of disagree, because I think that Balkan is significantly worse off his picks. I think he's still probably the best jungler in the league on any pick, but I think that, you know, if you give him Eve or Kha'Zix, he like runs over the game, whereas I'm not so sure he's going to run over the game on something like Jarvan. So I think that, you know, you can still hit it. I think that another area that teams have explored with is targeting Rogue's champion pool. He plays very aggressive supports. If you can get him on something, you know, a little bit more reactionary or something he's less practiced on, that you can potentially take advantage of this. So I really do think that losing blue side bans, because blue side are your target bans. Red side are normally your OP bans,
and then blue side are your really target bans. So for example, if Order didn't want Rogue playing Alistar, right? It's been hereditary, one of his best champions. Like, you no longer get that choice anymore. He's going to take the best support available unless you pick it away first.
Right, but of course, without having a few bans to begin the game, they will have the first pick on Order's side. So does that change the conversation at all for Bombers and what they have to ban?
Potentially, but I don't know whether Bombers solo lanes are really scared of Order's solo lane. So I think they'll just stick to their game plan. I think that they would have looked to try and ban away some of Jake's champion pool. You know, Morgana's been a perennial ban right now for Order, and they seem to perform well on that. So I think that, you know, that would be the target. You know, maybe you look towards Tally and some of his mages, or maybe Spooks and some of his more aggressive junglers. He played Rek'Sai last week. Or the fact that Ronan Dream played Nico last week, maybe you look towards banning that away. I think, although the micro patch did come through, I'm pretty sure, so maybe not as much Nico on this patch, but I think that, you know, there are some options there for red side. I think that they would happily trade 2 OPs for 1 OP, and that's what you kind of get to do in the draft.
That's fair enough. It'll be an interesting draft for sure, and as you pointed out, there's really a lot riding for both the teams. Definitely more so for Order, but Bombers are not locked into that first place spot, so they definitely want to get as many wins as they can.
I'm going to disagree with that part of it, because everyone's been saying that to me today, and I think that's incorrect, because Order is only 1 spot behind Gravitas, so if they trade games the way you would expect, right, which is they lose against Chiefs and Bombers, and then they beat Direwolves and Legacy, and which Order has done, and then everything in the middle is kind of that 50-50 matchup. I think these are the ones you can afford to lose, because if Order and Gravitas lose the exact same amount of games, the last game those two teams play is against each other. And whoever wins that game right now, if that was played right now, whoever won that would get head-to-head and make Gauntlet off the back end of that. So as long as you're an Order fan and you're willing to assume that Gravitas will lose to Bombers, which, let's be realistic, everyone in this room but Bryce probably thinks at the moment, this game actually means next to nothing for Order right now. It's one of those free games that if they win it, it's super good, but they don't necessarily have to win this game unless somehow Gravitas beat the Bombers.
Okay, so you think this takes a lot of pressure then off the Order lineup, so they might be playing a little more loose, even without the bans.
And I think that Bombers' goal, I don't ever thought Order's goal this split was to, this is an elongated intro for whatever reason.
Yeah, we're taking a little bit of time to get set up, but that's all right.
I never thought that Order's goal this split was to necessarily win the OPL and crush it, whereas Bombers' goal is certainly to win the OPL and crush it. And if they lose this game, they lose top spot, and no team has ever won the OPL after the gauntlet changes, finishing below first. So if you don't finish first, statistically, you're not winning the OPL. So if you look at it from the Bombers' perspective, this is a must-win game for the Bombers, because they have to win every game home, because otherwise Chiefs take the top spot.
So things might be more pressure on the Bombers' side. We'll see how it all unfolds. We're just a few seconds away from the picks and bans. We'll find out.
Crossed. I'm talking so much.
And yeah, as you pointed out, it's also patch 9.5 dropping today. Apart from the Nico changes, anything you're looking to expect in the pick ban?
I'm not going to lie. I don't read patch notes all that in depth anymore. I'm a man that plays from feel.
Oh, yeah?
I feel the patch notes. No, not really. This was kind of a boring patch, to be honest. There was like a couple of buffs and nerfs.
Kayle Morgana?
Yeah, Kayle Morgana. I don't think we're going to see any additional Kayle play. I think Morgana was in the exact same spot. I don't think that the movement speed to her ultimate gives her anything towards the mid lane position. I think Nico being tapped down means she's purely a lane bully right now. She's not going to be used as any kind of scaling carry, so that changes the way you run her in a comp. And apart from that, everything else is pretty much exactly the same. I think, however, watching the LCK last night was pretty interesting because they were willing to play Vayne into Kalista comps, which to me is something we've never seen before. Vayne has always been seen as someone that struggles in laning phase. Kalista is a lane bully, and the fact that Gen G played that twice against Griffin and won with it, I know there are a couple of teams, maybe not in this game, that would be taking a lot of inspiration from that certain victory. Potentially people will be looking to play a little bit more Vayne in the OPL.
Quite possibly, but another thing that was also played in that matchup was Nico just not in the AD carry position.
Top lane.
It's banned away by Bombers.
And that's kind of standard to me. I think that if anything, the Bombers wouldn't want to play against the Cheese and Order would want to play the Cheese. So, you know, not really blaming the Bombers for getting rid of that one.
Yep. Now, Bombers did show a little bit of mortality, but so far it's only been against the Chiefs. That last matchup, which was a massive banger, what could Order really take away from that could enable them to beat Bombers here today?
I think there's a couple of things to take away from that. I think that putting Rogue in an uncomfortable champ pool position is good. I think that Raze showed that he's much better in lane than what people think he is, and that, you know, potentially that is an area of the Bombers you can look to attack. And maybe potentially that you can leave someone like Swiper on an island or Tally on an island against Mimic, as long as they're playing something that has a lot of mid-game impact and potential lane bullying like a Renekton. So I think there was a couple of things to take away from it. In saying that, I don't know whether Order will attack the same parts of the map because they don't have the same weapons think they will try and play this game through Swiffer, potentially.
Okay. And now Swiffer is being targeted just a little bit, even though it's the generally strong pick of Zoe that's banned away. Once again, as you can see down at the bottom, Order do not get their first 3 bans, so it is all Bombers. They will ban away the Callista. Now that's interesting.
That is really interesting, because if any of the bottom lanes were going to play it, I would think it would be FBI and Rogue, just to facilitate Rogue's champion pool, because no supports have been banned right now. However, Lucian up and available, LeBlanc up and available, running through things like Rek'Sai that has seen a lot of priority internationally up and available, so the 3 bans really hurting.
There's the Lucian. I was going to ask if maybe Order didn't want to take away the Alistar from Rogue, but instead they take the other half. It's the Lucian that's been pretty consistently banned or first picked here in the OPL. Braum is the answer for Bombers.
Yeah, absolutely, and that makes sense. Split up the Lucian, Braum, bottom lane. You don't want to be playing against that. Get an early game aggressive jungler rolling at the same time. Order now has the opportunity to maybe take a flex pick if they want to. Maybe also match support and jungle position so those roles don't get pinched. Would like to see them play something aggressive in the jungle position. Something like the Rek'Sai comes to mind.
Looking at a mid laner for now, though. Seconds still ticking down. Lissandra does get locked in for Swiffer.
Yeah, it certainly does, which is interesting right now, because now they get to pick which one of the roles get pinched. Do they try and test Jake's champion pool, or do they test Spooks' champion pool? In saying that, both of those are fairly flexible, I would say, for Order. They've both played a lot.
I think there's a decent number of junglers still available. Volkan has already picked his, so that will be Bombers stepping into the jungle bans most likely. As the Alistar comes in, the Corki is picked up by Ryoma, or not quite yet. But I wanted to talk about that J4, because you pointed out as that was something that Bombers hadn't had as much success on compared to the likes of the Kazakhs for Volkan.
Yeah, but what it is a flex pick, right? They can play that in the top lane position as well. So if something like Vladimir is locked in, and that's an Ezreal, that's pretty standard for FBI at this stage, especially with the Braum comp. What I was going to say is, you know, if they lock in something like Vladimir, which Tally's played a little bit of, that's actually a winning matchup for Jarvan in the top lane they can take. If there's something a little bit more brawl heavy, you know, say something like a Jax or something for whatever reason, maybe a Yorick, doesn't do all that well, then you throw him into the jungle position, you still get to maintain counter pick. So I think it's just taking a strong pick away from the Order lineup that they can look to flex on the blue side, where you see a lot of flex picks, and, you know, giving Volkan and Mimic some more options.
All right, so Bombers start off by banning in the jungle. It's the Kazakhs removed away. Back over to Order. This time they do have bans, and they take away the Corki that was hovered by Ryoma.
Oh, that's interesting, right? Because Lissandra does seem to be someone that could kill the Corki, I would assume. Zoe's already banned, which is, you know, one of the other answers to Lissandra. See whether they go with another mid lane ban here.
Still some time on the board for Order.
Maybe something like Syndra that you don't want to play with, potentially Orianna. I would like to say Syndra, because if you ever land the stun, you can kind of blow up Lissandra early game without her being able to get the ultimate off.
That is a very good point. Order definitely taking their time with this one. A lot of communication happening between Choo-Choo's and Squad, and it's a Rise.
Okay, that's really interesting, right? Because what you have on the side of Bombers right now is the makings of a really good 1-3-1 comp. So Order obviously very aware of the fact that that might be the case. We'll get rid of Rise, who's kind of the best 1-3-1ing mid laner with Sylas still disabled. And I think that, you know, I like stylistically the choice, but I don't think that that's necessarily banning for the lane matchup.
I think that's fair. Bombers still have some time to change up that composition, and they do lock in an Orianna. Now this starts to look like a pretty beastly team fight.
Yeah, it certainly does, but that's a throwback for Ryoma. I haven't really seen him play Orianna since kind of the Sin days, to be honest. Wasn't a big Orianna player for the Chiefs. And I think that could be super interesting coming in.
Well, definitely can be a surprise even towards the end of the split. Bombers haven't been the team that's necessarily pulled as many surprise picks out. They've been more about just crushing it without really throwing anything into the works, but this time they take the Orianna. It's a Lee Sin lock-in for Spooks, and now the Vlad comes through for Tally.
Yeah, which is really interesting, right? Because I just said that the Jarvan pick beats the Vladimir pick, so even I'm surprised to see that one coming across. And it's actually not going to be.
Okay, so it is Jungle Jarvan at the end of the day, and Mimic takes the Rumble. How do you like that matchup?
That's a bloody 2014 Spawn team comp that's been locked in there. Jarvan, Rumble, Orianna. That's what I drafted into Legacy and lost the game against someone's Janna, smacking my 80 carry at turrets. But I really like the Bombers composition. I think that they've got everything you want. They've got a good three-man unit in Ezreal, Braum, as well as Jarvan, so they can farm side lanes well. Great wave clear, and if they ever start up a team fight, which is really easy, they're just going to be able to knock that one home. At the same time, you have to say Order's comp brawls really well. Not necessarily team fights really well, because you would think that Lee Sin not as good as team fighting as something like a Jarvan. But they can sit there and, you know, scrap back and forth. And they do have the time bomb on their lineup. No one really is going to be able to keep Vladimir out unless he gets very early cataclysmed. If he has summoner spells, he can get onto the Bombers lineup. If Vlad has 3 items and he hits any of those champions, I think they all spontaneously combust. In saying that, living for 3 items against the Bombers is a very tough ask. So Spook Swiffer Dream and Jake have to get Tally there.
Looking forward to see how it all unfolds here. Still a lot on the line. Bombers yet to secure that first place position after the Chiefs loss last week. Order would definitely like to win this game, even if they aren't going to be the favorites. And joining us to talk a little bit more about Bombers is going to be Weston Way. Welcome to the desk.
Thank you.
Good stuff. Let me just open and talk about last week. I want to ask you, what's the mood in the camp after losing the Chiefs again?
I think people handled it really well. Like I've been saying for a while, our focus is on the fact that no matter what, we're going to have to be able to beat them in the finals, you know, assuming that they are going to be the other team in there with us. So the mood is pretty much just get back to work, keep practicing, and just get good enough so next time we face them, we take them down in the best of 5.
And I want to ask you about the top lane picks here, because we've seen Mimic move a little bit further into the team fighting champions, you know, picking things like the cannon, but Rumble is like kind of even that step further. Is this something that you think stylistically the OPL kind of demands, or is it something that he just likes to play?
I mean, I think playing team fighting is like definitely like something which we do quite a lot as a team. But I think in this particular instance, he really likes the Rumble into the Vladimir matchup, and we've seen quite a lot of success in it in practice. So yeah, once they picked the Vladimir, he just said that he wanted it and he was comfortable with it.
And to talk about a different pick, with Ryoma on the Soriana, Jake mentioned it in the pick and ban that it's kind of a throwback choice for him. What prompted you guys to take this pick?
We think it's like really good with our composition, and it has a pretty decent laning matchup into the Lysandra as well. So that's why we chose it.
And now talk to me about kind of going into this game, and then, you know, obviously Super Week next week. End line is in sight, but keeping the guys motivated and still eyes on the prize, which is the end of the season. How are you guys going into those last couple of weeks?
Oh, I mean, keeping these guys motivated for the end of the season. You know, everybody's had their eyes set on the finals since, you know, we managed to rack up those wins at the beginning and put ourselves in a good spot. So I would argue that, you know, it's not a struggle to keep them motivated. The closer we get to the finals, the more motivated everybody becomes.
Excellent stuff. Looking forward to see how the Bombers close out. Thank you for joining us, Weston Way.
Thank you very much.
Really nice invade there. So what they did is they spotted Jake, as in Order Jake, not as in Rogue Jake, on the top, bottom side of mid lane. So with the Braum and Ezreal, they group up, they walk their Jarvan into the jungle, and they're able to steal away the red buff. Now this would be interesting, because if he goes for the blue here, that would be a potential 4 buff coming in on Spooks, because he didn't start on a camp. In saying that, doesn't go for it just yet, but still could make it in time if he wants to go after this Rift Scuttle.
There's going to be eyes on him, though, as Order did get a blue ward down inside of his own jungle, and he moves over to his red buff. Spooks will know exactly what just went down, and he'll get the smite off onto the blue. So no 4 buff attempt, but still a good start for Balkan.
Yeah, absolutely, and what this kind of means is Lee Sin beats Jarvan if he gets a red buff. Because Lee Sin has a flurry passive, which no one really talks about, but after every ability, he gets boosted attack speed for the next 2 auto attacks, and it gives him energy back. So as long as you can continually reapply that passive, you win the elongated skirmishes against the Jarvan. However, without red buff, you can't really go for that, because these auto attacks apply red buff, they're just going to have more damage available to it. So that means that Balkan, even though he didn't get the 4 buff, does get the double Scuttle Crab start, which is kind of the dream for any composition playing against Lee Sin. You want to be able to avoid those level 3 ganks, and also gives him free road down that highway of the river.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask about next, is how is Spooks
Tally's
going to respond to that, because Tally is already in a very big spot of bother trying to dodge out one of those Electro Harpoons, and he's zoned out. But Vladimir is a champion that can sustain a decent bit, but maybe not that much. He's getting charbroiled.
Yeah, it certainly is. If the first Harpoon had a hit, Mimic certainly would have flashed for that one. I like the choice of Airy, because you can see how often he's applying that damage. So really think that Mimic has come up with a good lane counter here. It's kind of always been tough in the early game for Vladimir to get through, and resourceless Rumble seems to be doing a very nice job.
Yeah, had some options. Could have gone for the J4 route as well, but ended up picking that Rumble at the end. But back to Lee Sin point, you know, how is this going to affect Spooks' ability to apply that pressure early? What can he do?
I don't think he does anything, to be honest. I think that all Order's lanes are being pushed in right now. If you go for a gank, there's always the opportunity to be counter-ganked, and you're going to lose even more there. They've had to burn teleport early, whereas Mimic's been able to maintain that. So I would like to see Spooks, you know, just get the shallowest vision available, try and get maybe one pair of eyes on him. In saying that, potentially looking at mid lane.
And they go forward, looking for the damage onto Ryoma at level 5. Still holds on to his flash, is going to be forced to use it to back away now. But that is a summoner burn for nothing.
Certainly is, but credit to Ryoma, doesn't burn both of them, which is a big deal. Because when you look at how this lane matchup is going, you would think at level 6 a much scarier gank coming out from the Lee Sin Lissandra combo. So I think that him keeping that right there, Pyra, might save his life in a couple of minutes.
Could do. We see that return gank. Spooks on level 4 now. We'll still have a little bit of time before he makes
Tally's
the play.
in trouble.
Tally's going to be forced to pool. Still in lane here, but he's a little bit low on the health bar. He was free farming for just a moment while Mimic was away.
And I want to talk about this matchup for Tally when we get a second, because this is something that Tally has historically struggled with on Order. When Mimic was on Legacy, was able to knock Order out of both Gauntlet runs in the best of 5, was able to put a lot of pressure on the top laner of Order back then, and in the last couple of times they've played, has also shown the ability to be able to dominate this laning phase. Swiffer in trouble.
All right, Balkan goes in, so the gank on the opposite side, but Lee Sin is here. Swiffer trying to bait it out. They get the root on, connecting onto the Sonic Wave, and that's the end of that. There was a threat there from Ryoma, putting the ball onto Balkan.
Yeah, but that's really nice chunk there. That gives Spooks a little bit more room. You can see how much stronger, although Spooks now in big trouble.
He's going to have to walk it out very carefully. Mimic made a play for him, backed away. So still 0-0. Shy of the 6-minute mark, and there is the use of that second summoner spell. Ryoma gets out.
But what did I tell you? Saved his life. That was the flash expended from Swiffer. And you can see that the duo lane of Order were headed up into that mid lane. And straight away, just cleanse it, walks it out. That was so many resources used from that Order bottom lane. And no kill.
Certainly seem to be gunning for Ryoma this game, though. Going for a lot of damage wherever they can find it. He's down both the summoners, so you would have to think that Spooks would be looking for a return trip soon. But he spent so much time running through the river now that he's got a farm differential on Balkan, not in the good way.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Balkan got 3 extra camps on Spooks on first clear, which is 12 CS, and he's 12 CS behind. So that's all the first clear that Spooks has been able to, that Balkan's been able to pick up there. Now an additional camp. So I think that, you know, this is just a carryover from the very early invade that came out, and really nice jungle pathing from Balkan. But, you know, same experience level, probably more crucial for junglers at this stage of the game than the additional red smite. So Spook should certainly still be able to impact the map once he picks up that level 6.
Definitely keep tracking him through the jungle. He's back down onto the red buff that's
top lane dive potentially coming
Here
in.
we go. Ryoma is just going to pick up Honey Fruit, though. Okay. Looked like it might have been there for a minute. Tally, I don't think Mimic is going to need a whole lot of help getting him back to base.
Yeah, but if he wants to kill him, certainly could, because Vladimir, one of the hardest characters in the game to solo kill. Kind of have to wait around, especially if he has flash for that pool to come up and available. Isn't running stopwatch. So wouldn't be surprised to see Spooks try and path up there. However, in saying that, Balkan certainly ahead of the clock in that regard, and he's wandering up right now, so Tally needs to be careful.
Here's the dive, looking for that flag and drag. Tally knows this is happening, and he lays down the red carpet into the pool. The Hemo Plague is on. Mimic flashing. Is he going to get out? No!
Oh, he got
him! Balkan is going to miss it! 2 kills, 1 on each side, and now Spooks is coming up to try and finish the job on a Mimic.
Yeah, certainly is. Knows Mimic doesn't have flash, lands a Q.
And he gets it. 2-for-1 trade. Order come out ahead.
Yeah, they certainly do. Still behind in gold, and you can see that that CS differential in top lane is growing, but the fact that the kill went over onto Tally probably just saved that laning phase. Pyra. Order knew the play was coming, but as you had mentioned, you know, Balkan being ahead of that tempo meant that he was top lane first, and Spook's only there to rescue the play.
Yeah, a bit of a mis-execute. Nicely done, though, by Tally. Dodge around for just a second. There's still a gold lead over to Bombers. The first blood did come in on their side. Balkan was the one picking it up. And there's a 500 gold difference, but Order really started to bring it back.
Yeah, certainly. Yeah, that's a really nice true shot barrage. Trims the last couple of waves. It also gets Stream low enough that he's going to think twice about freezing that up. Let's take another look at this. Really nice corralling from Balkan. Make sure Tally goes back towards the wall. That was a weird flash from Mimic, though, I think. Probably couldn't have taken the additional turret shot. However, they had to expend so much more because he burnt that flash as opposed to just taking the first blood and dying. And then Spooks being able to get in there with the flash. Pretty big.
Swiffer goes into enemy territory, try to clear a ward off, but Ryoma's going to be able to block him away. So yeah, an interesting set of plays that happened up towards the top side, but you can see both teams are kind of going for blood at the moment. We're 9 minutes into this one, several attempts, only a couple of kills. Still a pretty decent gold lead for Bombers, and it just seems to be off the back of superior farming, even though in some lanes, they're not winning the CS game.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's legitimately the 20 CS that Volcan has in that jungle position, as well as the 20 that Mimic has been able to generate in top lane, and a little bit of klepto farm, right? You know,
yeah, there's always
a couple
that.
of Q pokes coming in.
Can be
Now starting up on potentially a dragon down here would be interesting, given the fact that Order's entire bottom lane and mid lane know this is going on.
Well, if they want to contest it, they'll have to move quickly here as Dragon's dropping pretty low. This is a very big Drake. The Infernal, it's going to get taken away, smited down, and Order were sniffing around, but a little bit too slow. No jungle interaction. Nice dodge on the true shot between Dream and Jake, but Bombers get away with it.
And maybe for the first time, we see Order not contest an early Drake against teams. We've seen them lose so many games at this stage of the game. I think that they, on the side of Bombers, read that really well, that Spooks was pathing back top lane and needed to be able to pick up that farm because of the big CS lead that we keep talking about. So they bring over their bottom lane, they bring over their mid lane, they sack maybe, you know, a couple of creeps each, but they get the ultimate advantage in that Infernal Drake. Really well played by the Bombers.
Yeah, I want to revisit a point you talked about at the beginning of the game and in the draft phase, really about what Order could do, what takeaways they could get from the Chiefs loss that the Bombers had. I'll get to that in a minute because we've got a 3-on-2 down bot, and Jake can't flash out of that pit right now. Balkan just barely finishes the job, and Dream is out of mana. Bombers walk away with another kill.
Yeah, that was big that Dream was there because otherwise a full culling probably would have gone into that. FBI looking to stick around.
He might need to move quickly.
Oh, got tagged.
Not going to go in on Rogue. Might be low, but 2-on-1, Dream definitely can't tag his way through. So, Spooks does not take the Lee Syndrome.
Yeah, it certainly doesn't. However, had ult as well as a follow-up Q. Maybe could have killed FBI there. FBI does have himself the flash available. Ward hop to follow. Would have been touch and go, to be honest, Pyra.
Yeah, a little surprised.
Surprised by the discipline shown?
Surprised, discipline, question mark? Okay. Yeah, but let's talk about a couple of the ways that they might try to still attack this Bombers lineup, because a few things that you pointed out that may not be what Order want to do is to, one, put Rogan in an uncomfortable position. He's kind of been able to do what he wants. I guess it's kind of hard to put a Braum on the back foot. Do you think that's something they can still do here?
Yeah, potentially. I think that it's going to come down to how this mid-game eventuates. I think that in the laning phase, Braum really hard to push out because the sustain from Ezreal is always going to be huge because he runs that inspiration secondary, able to get things like biscuits, you know, the free boots and things like that. Also the fact that they run teleport. And then you're playing against a fairly aggressive lane in Lucian Alistar, but oh, good poke coming across one more time. Certainly not the hyper-aggressive lane, and then they set Spooks on the back foot. So I think the fact that they've just... Oh,
speaking of Spooks, he wants to put himself on the front foot, but there's the flag and drag out for Balkan.
Very surprised he used the kick there. Just because, you know, that wasn't really all that close to killing.
Although, 9 on 10, and that was a very bold play by Swiffer, but Balkan tagged in. Maybe he felt like he could. There's the shockwave and the dissonance. Tally and Spooks waiting in that brush, but it's warded out. Ryoma playing with no fear.
Yeah, it certainly is. That's a really nice play from Ryoma, and they might actually bring Spooks in here to try and clear out the wave. That's nicely done from the Order duo, and now Mimic in trouble.
Another fight.
Sorry, Tally in trouble.
And another fight. We've got it all over the map right now. Jake's caught up in another pit, and he's going to get knocked away, or he knocks Balkan away, but there's just no damage, and this is while Dream was back.
Yeah, and that's what I was really surprised about, right? Dream has himself a teleport, but wasn't in that lane, so kind of not a great time to go for it. Now, Spooks starting up this Rift Herald is very dangerous.
Especially with Mimic here, but he turns back around. The equalizer's thrown down. In comes Ryoma. Another couple of teleports channeling. Mimic trying to run away. Tally puts on the speedy boost, trying to chase him down. Instead, they'll just have to settle for Rift Herald.
Yeah, they certainly will, but in the meantime, they've given up bot lane turret, and Mimic can go clear out that top lane wave, so Order losing a lot on the back end of that play. 2 teleports, as well as some turret gold going across to the Bombers, exploiting that kill onto Jake in a very aggressive fashion.
So first break gets taken by Bombers, and they build up their gold lead, but a very decisive play by Order. It just unfortunately might not have been the right call. They will try to answer here. Mimic is backing. Rift Herald is popped. Mimic might just have to teleport in to try and save this, or they might just trade it.
So the reason that that is a very good use of Rift Herald, in my opinion, is that Order are about to lose turret plating, and they've lost all 5 in that bottom lane. So that at least gives 160 gold over to Dream. And Dream would be hurting right now. He's down a kill. He's also down the full gold of the turret. And they also get Mimic's teleport out, as you had previously mentioned. So they do get some things back from that play. But when you measure them up, we're talking about 5 completed plates, a kill, and 2 teleports for 2 plates, and no kill. Like, that's just not worth if you're an Order fan right now. So Bombers, as from stage number 1 in this game, just seem to be one step ahead.
And they just keep adding to their advantages. I mean, you look at what's compounded right now. It's a 4,000 gold lead. They have Infernal Dragon as well, the first brick, the first blood. Even if it's not been perfect from Bombers, they're definitely making sure whenever they trade, they get the advantageous one.
Yeah, absolutely. And with that, they've been able to go some pretty greedy items. You see a Trinity Force picked up for FBI, something you don't often see from Ezreal players at the moment.
He's got money to burn, man, with that Klepto. Picks that up first before he's completed his tier or anything.
And then Mimic's got himself 2 additional turret plates and a 20 CS lead as well. So you have to just say across the board, you know, all of the little advantages, as well as some pretty big ones in that Fire Drake and now potentially a Mountain,
that would
have
be
gone over to the Bombers.
And you can see Spooks is here. Could go for the steal. He sends a Sonic Wave in on a Mimic. That would be
not
an optimal play. Throws down the ward, does not decide to go in.
So the reason he can't go is Braum's already in mid lane. Look at where Alistar is, top side of mid. Braum was already shown on Lysandra. As soon as Swiffer says that, he says, Spooks, you can't fight. Even if Tally can get there somehow, you know, flash over the back of Dragon, we'll try and force a 2v2, we're ultimately going to lose out on it. So we have to give up another Dragon. And meanwhile, top lane, FBI just seems really content with farming out this wave in a 1v1 scenario against Lucian, one of the biggest lane bullies.
And he's got the CS advantage. It's continuing to build here for Bomber's Dream. Swapping up to the top, up against FBI, or had been for a little while. Tally now in trouble down on the bottom side as he tries to sustain, but he's just running straight into it, and Spooks will tag his way in. How about that for teamwork?
Yeah, really nicely done from Spooks, but once again, he's just bailing out lanes. Mimic looked like he was winning that 1v1. If Spooks didn't get there, he would have won it. Spooks has to burn his flash as well as ultimate to pick up that kill. So, you know, net themselves a small gold lead, but you can see 3 members already on top side of the map looking to trade turrets efficiently one more time. Bombers just feeding FBI and Order desperate to make plays happen anywhere.
They are trying to catch up, but it just seems like it's not fast enough. Every time the items coming and starting to really tell the difference. It's not just that Trinity Force. Ryoma has been able to pick up his big old first buy.
As a Swiffer.
Yeah, no, that's true, he is, but you know, the damage from the Ludens is pretty big. Now Swiffer is in trouble on the second win. Balkan comes in and donks him on the head.
You see the True Shot Barrage also following, everything really rubbing salt in the wounds, and that's going to be the last outer turret knocked down now. You see they even call Dream off the defense. It's gone.
That bottom turret doesn't even go the way of Order, so now Bombers have managed to take out the entire outer circle and are still doing damage on the inner. Order need to scramble fast.
Yeah, they certainly do, and it looks like they're not going to be able to defend this one right now.
Don't think they're going to be able to do it. Here comes Jake. Rogue Ryoma keeping him at bay. A few more pot shots, and they knock down another. That's 4 towers to 0 here. Bombers on the offensive. They've got Mimic uncontested down bot side, and they're not letting up an inch on the pressure game.
Yeah, you can see that that's just information not available on the map for Order. You have a look at where Bomber's vision is, and it's all in that topside jungle. You have a look at where Order's vision is. It is non-existent, has been since the start of the game. They just look like, once again, they're a step behind at every stage in this one, Pyra, and not really online to the point where they're able to fight just yet.
Yeah, it seems to come from multiple things, right? Like, it's the team play, it's the decision-making is a little slower, but it's also individually. The matchups just haven't suited them. Another thing we talked about as being a potential weak point that Order could attack was, you know, letting a top lane Islander bully it out, but they opted to do this Vlad matchup that they knew could be counterpicked. And Tally, as you also pointed out, has struggled sometimes against Mimic.
Yeah, it has, but I would say that that's the one matchup where I'm actually, if I'm an Order fan, that's the only bastion of hope left. Like, Mimic, whilst being the bully, is now only 9 CS up and hasn't really been able to get all that much done because Spooks has just been shadowing Tally around the map. So if Vladimir hits his 3 items, and he's at 1.5 right now, it can still certainly pose a threat, and that's an FBI without any defensive qualities right now. So if a Hemo Plague even hits at this second, I think that Order wins the team fight.
They're going to need to try and force it, though. Order leaving Swiffer in this brush. Here comes Balkan around the side. They look for the pick onto Rogue. It's just a lot of tankiness, and Shockwave pulls in too. Here comes Balkan, and the fight turns the other direction real quick right now as Spooks is locked up. A double kill for Ryoma. And Bombers do not seem to lose anybody as Swiffer's caught into enemy territory and shut down by FBI. Dream can't even walk it out.
And if you see that again, just really bad setup from Order, as you mentioned, rushed at the start of the play. They try and go for Swiffer's ult, and Jake missed the headbutt pole combo. Headbutted the Brom away. They also didn't account the fact that he has a stopwatch sitting in his back pocket, and Bombers turn the team fight expertly. They're just able to get their second. With that, they'll also be able to take down the bottom lane turret, and they're going to open up a 10,000 gold lead. Just off reactionary, really smart play.
So, Bombers definitely don't seem to have been too phased by what happened last week against the Chiefs. Here's that play again, and
that's what I'm
you
talking
hate to see
about.
that.
Just headbutts him away. Not able to get the headbutt pole combo. Then Volcan comes out of a brush that Order were just in. Maybe not expecting him here, but once again, skipped the step in the setup and not able to get anything done. That was kind of their one moment to land a clean team fight, but they didn't have crucial summoner spells available, and they weren't able to get 5 members on the same page. Mimic with the snipe at the end. Kind of just rubs salt into the wounds.
Aries putting in overtime this game for Mimic, and he picks himself up a kill finally, sitting on Morello Namicon, a couple of extra pieces as well. And in this mid game, Mimic is going to be another one of those factors that you have to be worried about. But we do want to see what Order can do with Tally. They still have that potent team fight potential. Volcan sniffing around here, trying to close this trap. Rogue is coming in, so is Mimic. Flag's thrown down. It looks like a 1v2, but don't be fooled, Order. Let's see if they can make it happen. Volcan is not going to live. And it looks like Tally may not either. Does just barely get clipped by the True Shot barrage as he comes back up off the pool. And Mimic will claim himself another kill.
Yeah, you can see already leaving, heading towards the Dragon. 2-for-1 special picked up for the Bombers. Saying that 650 shutdown did go across to the Order lineup, but it's onto the jungle Lee Sin, not the member you want scaling into the late game Pyra. Meanwhile, FBI 1v2s somehow able to pick up a kill in the mid lane.
Yeah. A lot of things happening across the board. He's 3-0 at the moment, feeling pretty good about himself on 2.5 items. So FBI, it's business as usual. He's just doing his thing. Ryoma is able to solo out another Mountain Dragon. At this point, Bombers can probably sneeze at the towers and they'll fall down.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, let alone something like the Baron, right? Also in behind Swiffer right now, needs to be careful. And Bombers just have first rotate everywhere on the map. And all of that comes from vision. You have a look at Order's vision one more time, it's non-existent. You have a look at Bomber's vision, and whilst it's drying up now, key areas of the map have just been warded the whole game. That deep ward in mid lane, that one on the Baron approach. They know when they have to commit to the Baron, and when they don't even have to look at it. Bombers just have complete control of Summoner's Rift right now.
That they do. Bombers needed to keep winning to make sure that they couldn't possibly get upended by the Chiefs. They're well on their way to doing it right here. 21 minutes into this game, a pretty sizable lead.
Absolutely, 7,000 gold lead, 8,000 gold lead, massive at only 22 minutes in. And you would say that unless it's a miracle Baron team fight, that there's just no way it happens.
Look at the gold between the 80 carries. I know the Ezreal's got Klepto, but man, that's pretty big.
Yeah.
It's almost 3,000 just on the 80 carry.
And it all started with that first, turret take in the bottom lane when they were able to rotate towards that. That put so much money on FBI, and with that was able to just generate picks against the support, and now moving into full team fight mode.
They're feeling very confident, it looks like. Ooh, Rogue forced to flash, followed through. They're going to be able to get something. Excuse me, it was Mimic. And he's going to be locked up 1v2, or is he trying to walk it away? The claw comes in. There's the shutdown. Bombers can still secure the Baron, and that's a worthwhile sacrifice, you got to think.
Yeah, absolutely it is. Mimic once again getting picked on the side lane. Another shutdown goes across, but Bombers had the information, knew that none of the Baron approaches were going to be available, and now can even maybe look to push in for a turret take. Their split pusher won't have Baron, but if you look at every other positive in this game, Bombers still growing their advantages.
Yeah, the trade's just always in Bombers' favor. The thinking 1, 2, 3 steps ahead. Here's the teleport there from Order. Can they close the gap and make the fight happen? We're looking for that big old Hemo Plague. In comes the Vladimir very slowly, only lands it onto one. Volcan, though, on the front line, trying to keep them all away from it. That's Ryoma getting shut down as Dream tags his way in. Bombers starting to meld here.
FBI.
This is the chance. It's a double kill for FBI, but how much more does he have in the tank as they turn around for a second win? Volcan in the back, taking out Dream. Jake's going to fall as well, and Bombers hold strong.
And that just might be the game. 20 seconds is the lowest death timer, and it's only going to be Spooks, and the base is about to be broken with Baron buff. Obviously, Bombers don't feel like they can end it here because they send their 80 carry mid laner. Would have been touch and go. There's still 20 seconds on Dream and Jake, but they're just looking to break the base in both places. Maybe toy with their food a little bit more, Pyra.
Yeah, play it a little methodical. You don't need to break the record for shortest game played in the OPL. That's fine. Mimic just takes one swipe at the inhibitor, lets the minions do the rest of the work, and it's just incremental advantages compounding.
Yeah, it certainly is, and we take another look at this play. Teleport expended, and the Q lands on the perfect member, right? They're looking at Ryoma here. Maybe even Jake putting down a ward hop there for Spooks. Ryoma dies instantly, doesn't even get ultimate off, but FBI on the back end is just doing so much work. Meanwhile, Balkan's able to solo out the mid laner, which is not what you want to see. Junglers, just very, very strong. And really, FBI's ability to kite out, that just bought so much time for his team.
Yeah, he's an absolute beast this game. 5-0-5. Give that man a 1,000 gold bounty on his head, and I don't know if anyone's going to be able to catch him. Isn't sitting on his flash anymore, though, so maybe there's the chance for Order. It looks like if that Hemoplague had landed on more members of Bombers, I think that fight could have gone a different direction, but it was a good split by Bombers. They really kind of separated out.
Yeah, absolutely, and I mean, if you have a look at how they played it on the back foot, right, they just tried to get as far away from the teleports at the start as possible, and they moved as a unit with the exception of Balkan. And he's so fed right now, you know, 5, 2, and 10. Can kind of do whatever he wants in these team fights, to be honest, Pyra.
Yeah, he's pretty happy on this J4 at the moment. He's very beastly, can get somebody locked up, and even though Dream and Swiffer, even Spooks can dash over it, he's still managing to find it after the cooldown. So this is one of the things that has made Balkan such a threatening player in his rookie split, is that he just identifies the perfect moments to shut people down.
Well, he's at Fed right now that he can kind of one-hit someone.
That's also true, but I just mean in general. This is how he gets to that Fed point.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he had a really nice play on the first clear, and things like that are understated for how they impact the rest of the game. Second teleport coming in.
In full vision, though, and this time it's going to be Swiffer looking for somebody. Mimic is going to get a spell shield burned as FBI goes forward. That's a big chunk of damage, and the Shockwave pulls him in. They already start by taking out Spooks and taking out Dream, and how about tacking on the rest of the team? That's a triple kill to Mimic, and you better believe that's game over.
And they took down FBI, which is a consolation prize, but everyone else dies, Pyra. Bombers in only 26 minutes come in and take care of business.
Yeah, you get the bounty, but it really doesn't matter at the end of the day. The Super Minions were already on the march, and at 26 minutes, Bombers wiping the dust off their shoulders there to claim victory here. Still in the running, on their way to claiming first place in the OPL ahead of the Gauntlet.
And a really nice early game from the Bombers. They got everything they wanted. Really nice first jungle clear. First Infernal Dragon into first turret to just open up a massive gold lead in this game. They really took advantage of the area of the map they wanted to punish. And that was with a pretty scaling bottom lane. You know, Ezreal Braum, not necessarily known to bully after that first base, but always had the push, always had priority. And Order, at moments, looked like they had good series of like individual play, but they were never really able to get the map on the same page, and honestly looked really rushed at times throughout that game, and Bombers just waited for the mistakes again after they built that massive lead and just punish.
Yeah, I think it kind of comes down to the teams playing what appeared to be a couple different games, right? Like, you look at the Bombers lineup, and they're thinking a couple steps ahead, identifying threats that will be down the line. It's 3D chess, right? And then on the other side, kind of feels a bit more like checkers from the Order lineup, because they're going for plays, which are cool, but if it doesn't always work out, you know, then what are you going to do?
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, that's kind of the aim of League of Legends, is you need to make things happen when you're behind, because otherwise you get starved out of the game. But the ways in which the advantages were accrued were like little advantages that Bombers take a lot out of. You know, being able to spot people on the first jungle clear, being able to have a look at the fact that Spooks heads towards the top side of his map. You know, no one died to get that first Infernal Dragon. It was just a jungle across mid lane, and they were like, okay, we get this for free now. This is how League of Legends works. And I really think that, you know, other teams with the same information don't go for the big punishes like Bombers do, and that's what makes them very tough to play against.
Yeah, certainly tough and damn near impossible in some cases, so they take themselves another win. Let's send it back over to the couch to break it down further.
Well, Pyra just mentioned that Bombers are thinking 3 moves ahead, and as we were walking out of the studio just after the draft ended, Rusty, you said that Bombers seem to have read Order from the beginning of the game.
Yeah, it felt to me like, and I would say this objectively, but it is subjective because it's draft. I think that Order got read really hard and that Bombers actually did win the draft. But the thing that I want to add first as a caveat is that I like Order's composition. I actually think they have a strong comp. But the reason I think the Bombers won draft is that they read that comp and beat it. And one of those things that is big for it is Order's ban of Rise is a clear indicator that they're going to play Vladimir. But Jarvan was already picked for Bombers, and you're okay with that matchup. You can weather the Vlad matchup pretty easily, right? And be relevant in team fights in a fairly similar way. But then they get the option Bombers to play whatever they would want as the counter pick because they're on red side.
Yeah.
And Order have to show that it's a Vlad, and they know the jungle matchup.
Yep.
So they choose the Jarvan. They've got a Braum Jarvan that can invade red at level 1, and they do to get double scuttle, so they win jungle control as well. And then they also get the counter in top lane of the Rumble, which isolates the matchup. And in mid-game, I would rather have a Rumble a lot of the time than a Vladimir, just because of the raw strength of a magic penetration champion opposed to a scaling team fighting one. Like, all those things come together. I look at the draft, and I think the Bombers are strongest in mid-game.
Yep.
Like, incredibly strong in mid-game with the one-item spikes and cheaper item spikes, where Order's mid-game is terrible in this composition, but they're strong early and late, and they can't win early. So I just think it's a hard read.
Yeah, like, realistically, I think the game sort of ended up not quite panning out to you as you expect. Like the draft, if you look at Order, like, you get Lucian, you get Ali, you get Liz. These are all like power picks, and obviously this was like no bans first 3.
Yeah.
So this draft is just whack starting off, and like it is a bit of adaptation on both sides. Like, it changes for everyone, right? But then given that, like, yes, they have like jungle control. It's like a triple buff start to the game, and then like they mess up a top dive horrendously. It is like they gift Order a little bit of time, do the Bombers then, but then like Order are just way too rust. You were saying you'd rather have like Rumble at 2 items versus Vlad, then Vlad wants to get to 3 at 4, and he becomes like a real champion, is taking over the game. But they just didn't get there because it was really like a weird series of events. They tried to pick on Ryoma heavily, right? And it was relatively successful early. They burn the flash, then it's like a roam up from Jake. They get the cleanse, yada yada. Eventually they're going to make something off it, but they just hard commit to like off a pick. They just like TP Dream to top side of the map around Rift Herald, and I feel like this is a couple of weeks in a row where like Order really prioritized Rift Herald, and a couple of fights have gone very wrong for them around that point. And then Dream's like 1.5k down in Ezreal, and Epia, like, he's just flexing, right? Like, his build at times was just horrendous.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, it's almost like laughable. Like, it's not like bad, but he's just like doing things honestly for fun because he's like flexing on his old teammates. It's like a Triforce rush when Gauntlet is very good. He has like a Lost Chapter and a Vamp Scepter. Like, he's building like Bork, and he's going like 2nd tier item in the Archangels, but hasn't invested in the tier. Like, it's very obvious Bombers at a certain point were kind of playing with their food. And I mean, it was just a big stomp of a game.
All right. Well, it was a win that may have been somewhat predictable, but it was an important win for Bombers to stay that 1 point ahead from the Chiefs. Sorry. And to break it down for us, we'll throw to the desk with Pyra and Ryoma.
Thank you very much, Nick Boy. So, Ryoma, you guys took a win that seemed fairly effortless at the end there, but in the beginning it started off a little bit weird with the ban changes. Since Order didn't have the bans early, they mentioned it on the couch. How did that affect your strategy in the pick and ban phase?
It didn't affect us too much because like we knew what we wanted to play, we knew how to plan out, like we knew what style we wanted to play. It was just unfortunate for Order, but yeah.
So it didn't really bother you guys at all. Now, you picked kind of a throwback choice. You went to the Orianna, which Spawn said you hadn't really picked up since like your Sin Gaming days. Do you want to talk to me about that pick and what it meant to you for today?
I was gonna play Syndra, like one of my other better champs. But I felt like Orianna suited our comp more, and like I just needed to not die mid lane. Because like that was obviously what they were going for, and yeah, it worked.
Played it out nice and safe, and you guys took yourselves an easy win. Thank you so much for joining me. Congrats on the win again. Cool, cool. So as it is, of course, Recall and Restore Week here, we have been partnering with Headspace AUS and, of course, Lava, and we've had a couple of videos prepared. So here's one on the importance of exercise and mental health.